Hi, my name is Brandi Cunningham, and I'm founder of Fireside Grace Ministries. I'm also a wife, a mother, an animal lover, a registered nurse, and a life coach. And my burden that I carry from the Lord is to help you live as healthy and as happy as possible. So I've taken all of those things that the Lord has taught me over the years, combined them into one place. And you're going to learn here all the things that I've learned from the different areas that the Lord has grown me in over the years. My goal is to help you overcome depression, suicide, and any feelings of inadequacy, enjoying life to your fullest, no matter what that means for you, as well as being happy and healthy on your journey to living life to your fullest. The key to living happy and healthy is nutrition. We are so motivated or not by what we put in our bodies. Our cells legitimately respond to everything that we put in our bodies, including processed or non-processed foods, organic or non-organic foods, and the words that we allow spoken into our lives and that we speak over ourselves. Like and subscribe to my channel for more tips, tricks, advice, and teachings on how to be happy and healthy. Good morning, afternoon, evening, nighttime, whenever you're listening. This is Brandi Cunningham with a happy and healthy living lifestyle and Fireside Grace Ministries. I'm so excited to be with you today to talk about my favorite topic right now, which is non-processed food eating. What are processed foods? Is it okay to have processed foods? Are some of them okay to have? Are some of them not? What to look for in a processed food? Why should we eat mostly non-processed foods, and which ones are processed that we should stay away from? So I'm going to dive right in. What is a processed food? You may be asking. When I first started thinking about this topic, I was like, I don't even know what that is, but I mean, I kind of have an idea, but what is it exactly? So what I found is that it's a food that's changed anyway from its natural state of being, which is not always a bad thing. I mean, we can can things, we can freeze things, we can dehydrate things. For example, I can roast nuts. I can make JoJo baby food and put it in a pouch. And because I do that and I blend it together, washing it, drying it, that's all called processing it. Now, there are times when it's good, like fortifying foods is a way to process them with, vitamin D and calcium and things like that. There are times when it's good to have processed foods. I mean, it saves on the waste when we dehydrate our leftover broccoli stalks, chop them in half and eat them as chips, put a little Parmesan on them or seasoning and dehydrate them in your dehydrator and eat them as chips. There's times when it saves down when we just put everything in a bag and freeze it for later. There's times when we just want to have ready-made soups that we have made at home and we just put them in jars or whatever to save them for later, pop them off, heat them up, whatever we want to do. Okay, so obviously in the fridge, but whatever. So examples of badly processed or foods that are bad for you, not good for you, that are processed would be like ready-made foods. Now, that's not like these fresh meals that I talk about from Whole Foods, but it is meals like in a can, things that are soups that are ready, that have a long shelf life, like ramen noodles, ready-made pastas. I mean, you pretty much name it. A lot of condiments that are in bottles. Taco, you can buy all kinds of ready-made rice and noodles and pastas, taco seasonings, things like that are just heat them and eat them. And almost every one of those are bad for you. Why? They contain preservatives that are chemicals that are actually carcinogens, which just means that they are known to cause cancer if used long-term. So you can have a mildly or lightly processed food that's more healthy versus an ultra or heavily processed food, which is completely unhealthy. So here's why I say that. When something is processed under high heat, which is typically what you have to do for a lot of things, it takes all the nutrients out of it, or the majority of the nutrients out of the food, which is why we're eating it, right? And that's what we're supposed to do, is feed our body with healthy things. Our body is a temple and it no longer belongs to ourselves, and we became living sacrifices to the Lord. And that includes how we take care of our body and what we put inside of our body. So there's two examples that I've heard of good processed foods that turn into bad processed foods. You can take sweet corn that was pulled, washed, dried, drained, and frozen. You can have someone make a homemade corn tortilla, or you can have high fructose corn syrup. Also not good for you. We think of juices. We don't do juices in this house. We don't do like cranberry juice, grapefruit juice, apple juice, anything like that. And the reason is our body was not created to process those straight sugars all at once. If you think about it, God made apples, right? We eat an apple and it will take 5 to 10 to 20 minutes to eat a whole apple. I don't know exactly how long. I don't time myself, but you get the point. The entire juice that we get from that apple, that's fructose, or the sugar that we get from that apple, it takes us a little while to process. As we're chewing, our body has a chance to process the amount of sugar that's coming in before we swallow the next bite. And obviously it's not immediate, but it's able to process it more evenly. Well, if you think about just drinking a straight cup of apple juice, your body doesn't have time to do anything and your insulin levels spike. And if you keep spiking your insulin levels to deal with the sugar that's in something, eventually your insulin stores are not able to spike that high, and it can lead to things like diabetes. And so those are the differences. So I hope that helps put a picture in, an organic whole food that's non-processed or lightly processed, that's still okay for you, versus something that's highly processed that is not normal. So typically, if we take it out of state of normality by high levels, then really most of the time it's not very good for you. According to WebMD, ultra processed foods make up of 60% of calories in the American diet. And this is pretty much all fast food. Now, obviously there's your exceptions. Examples of overly processed foods include canned foods that have sodium or other preservatives added. We have way too much sodium typically in the American diet. Ready to eat pastas, pizzas, cookies, lunch meats. We all know they're high in sodium. Fast foods, the majority of them have added sugars and added sodium, which is not, and high in fat, because they're typically processed with something like a canola oil instead of, something better for you, like an avocado oil or grapeseed oil or something like that. Sugar. It's really important that we watch our sugar. Americans have a very high rate of heart disease and diabetes, especially in the South. If you look it up, the southern states, what are considered true southern states, have the highest rate of diabetes and heart disease in the nation. Why? Because we like comfort food, and I am included in the southern people. I am an Okie from Oklahoma, and I love biscuits and gravy, mashed potatoes and rolls, country fried steak, all the things that are delicious, but we have to be careful and use those and for special occasions only. And still, like, we have a rule in our house: if we want something that's really processed like that, we make it at home with at least 1 or 2 better ingredients, and that keeps us feeling a lot better. So sauces, prepackaged or bottled sauces, you'll find a lot of them have lactic acid in them, or yeast, which, yeast is running more rampant than I think diabetes and heart disease. Is that, we have issues with yeast, and you may or may not, but that may be something I do a future video on. What are the negative effects of intaking yeast often. Prepackaged bottles almost always have, locust bean gum and different preservatives in them, and high sodium. So we try to stay clear of those things. Why can't we eat the non-processed foods? We can eat the non-processed foods. So why can we eat the processed foods? What are the benefits of eating non-processed foods? Okay. They are lower in sugar, most usually. They still maintain their nutrients because you're not scorching them at high heats. You have heart disease and diabetes are more taken into account whenever we are looking for foods that are non-processed, and you're less likely to end up with diabetes or heart disease if you're eating whole foods that are not processed, including organic foods instead of non-organic. Organic is much closer to their natural state of being as possible, as much as possible. You get typically a decrease in triglycerides just 6 months or 3 months even after eating whole foods. Free of chemical additives. Chemical additives are almost always known as carcinogens. It lowers your disease risk from multiple diseases across the board, increase your antioxidants. And this is on healthline.com. So this is actually research proven information. Antioxidants fight cancer. So we lower the carcinogens and the cancer causing agents that we're putting in our body, and we increase the antioxidants that we have to fight cancer. So I think this is a really good thing. Multiple benefits for the digestive system and our liver. So we help our gut, which means we help our skin, because typically skin issues present from foods that we're eating, or our gut or digestive system not being able to process things. And we will have a lot more information on this to come. So for example, if we are putting things in our body that we are intolerant to and we're not naturally created to process, or we can process it, but we've been eating them so much we've become intolerant to them, we need to take our body back to its natural state, do a lot of cleansing, and be very making informed decisions and aware of what we're putting in our body. Then we can start adding those things back in that we're intolerant to one at a time, or just to have every now and then. And we can process that when we're in a good state of being. But when we're not, our gut overreacts. If our gut is overreacting or it's not able to process what we're putting into it, we don't absorb the nutrients that we should. We don't have the gut flora that we should. And so there's lots of issues that come from that. It's better for our teeth. There's lots of things that are that have calcium in them, that have a better pH state, and things like that that help our enamel. Healthline.com, I'm going to wrap up with these 2 comments. It says that eating non-processed foods helps support our local farmers, which are very important to us, and gets the focus off of dieting. This is what we do. We don't necessarily eat a diabetic diet. We don't necessarily eat a liver healthy diet. We don't necessarily eat a heart healthy diet, but what we do is eat organic, whole foods most of the time to the best of our abilities to give ourselves the fuel that we need to live happy and healthy lives. If this has helped you, please like and subscribe and share it so other people can get help too. All right, be blessed, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.